Hello and welcome to Crosspoint Church's podcast Behind the Point. My name is Adam Robertson, and joining me here today is Steve and Teresa Dunlap. They're the founders and directors of On Time Ministry. And before we get started, would you guys mind telling me a little bit about what On Time Ministry is?
Well, Adam, thank you for this opportunity to share. We always love to talk about what God has done. But anyway, On Time Ministry, our focus is rescuing, recovery, and the restoration and empowerment of girls that's been involved in the sex trafficking industry.
Okay, and so with our listeners at home, let's go ahead and let's start from the very beginning. Let's start from how this all began. Who felt called at first to do this? Or was it at the same time you had a lightning bolt moment, or what happened?
It happened at the same time. We were getting ready for Sunday morning church, and there was, it was a young girl on Christian television that was sharing her testimony, and the words human trafficking was mentioned. Got our attention. We went in and listened to her testimony, and after we heard it, God just dropped a passion and a love in our hearts for the girls we had never met or known, but it happened at the same time. And we said a little simple prayer of, God, if there's any way we can help these girls in these situations, we're available.
You weren't just getting ready for church that Sunday, were you?
No, I was pastor.
You were the pastor. And so when you were praying for God to use you, what was kind of going through your mind? What kind of picture was actually being painted at that time from your view as a pastor? Was it to use a church, or were you expecting to eventually leave?
Well, actually, we didn't have any idea, just to be honest. In her testimony, she told of how there was a Christian rescue team that circled the brothels every night looking for girls trying to escape. And they found her and picked her up and took her to a safe house. And at that moment of time, I was so proud to be associated with Christians that would get out there and do things like that. And I just immediately, I thought, man, that's something that maybe we could do if we could go over in a third world country, that maybe we could be a part of that. But we really thought that the church would probably buy into the same dream and vision and come along with us. We didn't know that we would be leaving later.
Okay, so you guys sit down, you had the prayer, and you seeking God. Then what? What was the steps? Did you just pray and then a month later just be like, I know, or what happened with that?
I'm not sure we know still yet. We just know where we are in this moment. We did have a passion for a group of people that we didn't even know, or really didn't even know existed. We didn't know what that looked like or how we were to walk that out, but we were definitely both moved. And it's so awesome that we both felt that calling at the same moment, and the same calling, not really knowing what the calling was. We didn't know, okay, yeah, we're going to have houses, we're going to have this. And, we had no idea. We really didn't know what it was going to look like. We did know that there are girls out there crying out for help, and that somehow response needed to happen.
So what was your first step then? If because there has to be some kind of movement to begin it, what was it?
Well, actually what we did, we started looking for other agencies and ministries to volunteer with, and it was very difficult. We would reach out and no one knew us, or we were rejected multiple times, but the passion kept growing. And we thought, Lord, we know there's something that you want us to do here. We just got to find it. And finally, there was a lady that had a ministry in Juarez, Mexico, had a safe house, and she opened up her doors for us to come in and start volunteering. And that was June of 2012.
And so you guys ventured out. Did you find yourself getting other people to go with you? Were you finding a lot of support?
We did have, actually, our church did get behind us and went with us. We took a whole group of people and our children from the church, and just we went there to do like remodeling projects, and then the passion kept growing and growing because we fell in love with the young ladies there that had been rescued. And yes, our church got behind us and supported us. And then it came to the point that it was demanding more and more, and we were going to have to make some decisions. And that's when we knew that, first of all, God led me to quit my job. I was a school teacher, and he led me to resign. And after I resigned, then we were offered a building to use in Juarez. And then we noticed that every time we would take a step of faith, he was just there waiting, and it was just showered us with unexpected blessings so we could walk in this. Then the next step was that I had felt for a while that God had called us to sell our home. We sold our home and we gave away everything we owned, and we resigned from the church, and Steve quit his job, and everything. Just every time we would take a step, there would be multiple, just blessings upon blessings.
So when it comes to taking steps, I feel like there's those moments where you take a step forward and it's just like, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is a step forward. And then there's those moments where I feel like essentially God's like, I just need you to step off this ledge. There's no going back. Once when you take this step, like you can't just, crawl back up. Like this is a substantial moment in your life. And I feel like quitting your job or selling your house are those moments. How did you come to those moments, and how did you have the faith to take that step?
Well, actually what it was the change of our hearts. When he dropped the love, and I'm talking about a level of love I had never experienced before, even as a pastor, and then the passion to do something, it changed our hearts to where selling the house was such a blessing because it was a relief. We wouldn't have that responsibility. And giving away our stuff, it was so cool to bless people. I mean, just, Lord, we got a table here. Send someone that needs a table. And they would come. And it was just God orchestrating it. And it was so exciting. And Adam, I'll speak for myself. I was never the type of person that I gave a lot of things away. I had my possessions and I hoarded possessions, okay? Because someday it may be a rainy day and I may need it, And I'm just speaking honestly here. Yeah. And then to quit our jobs, that was our security. Now, I preached faith, but it's one thing to have a lot of faith when you have 3 incomes. When you start removing those incomes with no guarantees, it changes the dynamics of how you believe in God and how you walk with God. But yet God gave us the confidence that he was in this and he was going to take care of us. And it wasn't that difficult to do, where prior to that change of heart, we would have never done that. I remember as a young minister, and missionaries come in from Africa, and they talking about sell your house and give it all to Jesus and move to Africa. And I had that white knuckle experience. No, Lord, no, please don't call me. But when this happened, this changed. It was so easy because he changed our desires. I changed our hearts. And now the biggest problem is not stepping forward, but it's not running forward. It's waiting on Lord to open the doors.
So God began to move in your life. You sold your house, you quit your job, but then what happened? Did you guys just randomly get in touch with somebody? What exactly happened after you gave everything?
Well, God did it systematically. And when we sold our house, the week before we had a buyer, God provided us a free home to live in, to care for, that was brand new. It was fully furnished. I mean, how does that happen? And it was like these people invited us over for dinner and said, God spoke to us and said, here's your house, our house. We're going back into the mission field. It's yours to use as you need it. And we're not going to charge you for this. And so we lived there for 2 years while God was helping us put the ministry together. And as Teresa shared, whenever she gave her notice at work, we got a building offered to us in Juarez, a 3-story dormitory. Then a guy stepped up and he said, if you guys are serious about ministry down there, here's $5,000 for operating cash to begin with. But we still had some barriers. Neither one of us could speak Spanish. That's kind of important, And how do we find girls, and who's going to take care of them? And in this process of just seeking God as to what he wanted us to do, God laid on our hearts that, again, Teresa was to quit and she resigned. But I thought I would work another year, okay? Well, no. What God was wanting to do is for both of us to step free. And while we were in that decision-making process, we were given an offer of a house mom, a director of ministry. We already had the cash, we already had the building, and then we had girls coming. And so that's when I resigned. Well, there's a lot happened after that. We thought we would be staying in Mexico. What we found was that since we're not known in the El Paso area, we didn't have any support coming from that area. So we had to come back to Missouri to raise funds for down there. And this process of coming back and forth, we ran into a gentleman that we knew in the Dallas airport. And we flew back together to Springfield. And he said when he went to pick up his luggage, God spoke to him and said, what Steve and Teresa are doing in Juarez, Mexico, they need to be doing in Missouri. So he bought a house for us to use, not very far from here. And so now we're in Mexico and Missouri, and the building was just an open commercial building, and we didn't even have the money to turn on the electricity, Adam. I mean, that's just where we was. Yeah. And all of a sudden, within a week, God started sending laborers. He started donations, and in about 7 months, we had a beautiful 3.5 bath, 7 bedroom. We have 7 bedrooms, commercial kitchen, beautiful dwelling, a home for girls that were going to be coming to us from the United States. And we opened up in July of 2015 there.
So whenever you were approached in the airport and you saw your friend, did you have any idea God was about to just drop this, bombshell on you guys, this new blessing?
We didn't have a clue. And that's how God seems to operate. Well, at least for me anyway. Yeah. He don't let me know much in advance. That way I can't mess it up. But the passion and the love that he put in our hearts was so overwhelming. He knew that we were in. And what we've promised the Lord was, we're not going to hinder you. We're not trying to build a ministry. We're not trying to expand, but we're not going to hinder what you want us to do. And then we were there open for 12 months. And we didn't get a house mom in Missouri. And Teresa and I were on 24/7 for 12 months. And then we get an offer of a third building, which you help remodel. Yeah. And matter of fact, we were hesitant to even accept it because we were struggling on getting staff for our Missouri facility. And but anyway, we made the decision to go ahead and receive the building. And then within 2 weeks, we got a house mom.
How we started here in Missouri is we started a call center, and my friends in the church, other women, church ladies, we would get together and we developed a call center, and we made cold calls to ads on Backpage.com and looking for someone who maybe would be underage or would need help. And our theory was that we would offer them resources in their local area. But what we found is they know about those. The true help is when they say, come get me, I want out. And that hit us pretty hard. And that's when, we have to stop the outreach in that way. And we have to have a place to take these young women because we're doing them an injustice, because that's truly what they needed. And so then we pulled back, and this all just happened. We really did have no idea. And so we thought, okay, that's the need. We thought the need was, we'll hook them up to resources. No, the need is they need a place. They need a safe place. Happened the first house here in Missouri, and then the second house in Missouri. And it's just, there's such great need. We're full all the time, except for we need house mom or house parents there to get that to run, because the way the ministry has grown, for us to be house parents again, it's just not possible at this point. So we have a big, beautiful building that needs to be open and running. And so we're at that point again. Okay, Lord, what do you have for us?
So what do you guys do whenever resources are maybe short, or you need, somebody to come along and volunteer? Well, do you guys run into that issue?
Constantly.
Constantly.
Yeah. Human resources is the greatest need that we have. We need people to help, and we need staff, and we need volunteers. It's always the greatest need.
Well, and what we get into is, and it goes back to what the word declares, the harvest is ready, but the laborers are few. The need is tremendous. I mean, it's everywhere. And yet we are limited on how many girls we can help. And you're constantly battling ministry versus finances and, or human resources. And it's just up and down and a game, because there's nothing constant. Being faith-based, we don't have any organization behind us. We did receive our first grant. It was a Rotary Club grant from Willow Springs, and we were excited about that, but we've received no federal money. Everything that's going on here is from the kingdom of God.
Or do you feel like churches are disconnected from what is actually happening?
I think, yes, we were not too long ago. We didn't even know what human trafficking was. And so now that we know, we feel like it's just such joy to share that, because we don't bring it in like a darkness. It's there, whether we're aware or not, but it's time to be aware and know what God can do when the light is shown on that, because it is in every community.
And one thing that helps us with the awareness part, the girls that have been in the program and have embraced the recovery, they go along with us and they share their story and they get to see what God has done for these girls. And they share a little bit about their background, but their testimony is about what God has done for them. And that's what opens up people's eyes.
So once when that connection's made and people see what's happening on time, what kind of interactions do you see with those churches?
The women, they jump on board and they want to bring in supplies and, because you're running houses and you've got 7 girls, there's a lot of things that you need. And they're really good to jump on board with those types of things. Occasionally we get a church that steps up and says, hey, we want to partner with you. And so they'll start sending a monthly donation, which is big. It's really big. And then sometimes we have, especially when we were in the remodeling phases, we had a lot of churches like, Crosspoint jumped in and helped us with a portion of the remodeling project, which again, that was a gift of God. And the coolest thing that I love is that in all of our facilities, we had nothing to begin with. And yet God would speak to the hearts of people to bring items, as well, of course, finances, but they would bring a chair, and this one would bring a lamp, and this one would bring a sofa. And it was crazy because it would match. And it was different people. And it was just like God laid on my heart. And a little church lady, I don't remember who she was or where she came from, gave us a wonderful idea. Let people in churches adopt bedrooms. And they would just come in and they would be we would choose the paint colors that they could pick from. Yeah. But they come in and they paint and they did everything. They provided everything, beds, everything that was needed, and it had its own personality and it reflected the giver's heart.
Yeah, that's real cool. And what else do people seem to volunteer with?
What we see a lot is once people are informed and they know and they hear the girls and it touches their heart, they want to know, what can we do? And with people being so busy, sometimes it's I can come in once a month or once a week and I can help people learn how to sew or cook, and those things are wonderful. Our needs run pretty deep. And what we're seeing now is we have great need for dental work, and we have medical needs. And we do have a couple of doctors. One is a nurse practitioner, one is a doctor, and they volunteer their services. They come in and they do evaluations on the ladies, which is wonderful. And then we have prescriptions that we have to pay, and we have, one needs surgery on her wrist, and when there's some, again, dental work, and just lots of really big needs that's very hard for us to meet. And so we create projects with that. This is a block. This is some dental bills that we have right now. Can you help us pay this? But what we really need is we need dentists,
Our transportation needs is unbelievable. We're one of the only ministries in the whole United States that we'll do rescues, transportation, recovery, restoration, and empowerment. That means from wherever they are, we will say yes to the best of our ability, and we will assist them. Well, we've got vehicles going all the time, everywhere, and that's a big need. And and then something I didn't want to overlook. We receive a lot of clothing donations. I very seldom buy any clothes, do we? And our food, we have a lot of food donated.
If you want to care to take a moment out and just let people know how they can get involved or how they can get in touch with On Time Ministry.
We have a new call system now we're pretty proud of. They can call our ministry phone numbers, 417-252-0357. And then there's a list of options that they can choose if they have donations or if they're interested in a speaking engagement or if it's a possible new resident, they can walk through that and contact us that way. We do have a pretty consistent list of needs. It's just typical household items. We stay pretty filled up with stuff like that because I believe people really respond when God lays it on their heart to do something like that. People are really quick to respond to that, and we really appreciate that. Our greatest need is at this moment is, of course, finances, vehicles, and getting the house in Houston and the other house in Missouri up and running.
Right. And we do have volunteers that do come in, and they have like special skills or special interest, and they coordinate that with our house parents. Like there's one lady, she loves to hike, and so she schedules a time to hike with the girls. And then this one lady, maybe it's the same lady, I don't know, they went and took them, and they got to mess with horses, and it's stuff like that. And we want the girls, we believe this, that the girls have to be active. They need to be active outside of the four walls. They need to be active with other people. They need to be experiencing life and all that life has to offer them. I know they've been on float trips. We got friends that take them to the lake for water skiing and for boat rides. And those are fun things. But those are things that I grew up doing. But these girls have never had that opportunity. And so that's big too.
And those are how individuals can get involved. What about if someone's listening, maybe a church leader?
Just call our number on our website. It's 417-252-0357, or send an email. Then just go online to our website, and all the contact information is there, and they can reach out, and they will get a hold of Teresa or myself or whoever. It all depends on we have someone in charge of fundraising, and fundraising can be, it's an awesome blessing, but it's a lot of work, and you got to have manpower. And when you're like us, you're hands-on with everything. It's hard for us to pull away to do fundraising. But again, we have like Victoria. She's one of our girls that travels with us, and she's our ambassador. And she goes along and helps share in churches, and she has other her own invitations to represent the ministry and what God's done for her. And so that's another way that we can help, is just, again, those opportunities. Reach out to us. And then I'm going to throw this out. It's just in the works. We're kind of seeing where it's going to go. But a lot of times men don't feel like they can be a part of this ministry. Well, we want to change that. We want to involve men. We believe that when we get a phone call that we should go. And some of those places are not nice places. Those are dark places. And we need real, godly men that will say, I'll go. And so we're looking at forming some teams here locally to make that happen.
That's powerful. I'm looking at the clock, and we don't have a lot of time left. However, I want to now take a time to speak to the people who are listening. You guys just have this amazing, incredible story of stepping out. God's called your guys to a ministry where you had to leave pretty much your old life behind and go on this completely new adventure. So my question is, what would you just say to someone who is feeling the leading of God to go do something, but maybe it's one of those, take one step, but once we take that step, you just got to let God handle it because there's no going back.
I'd say don't be afraid, just do it and just see what God's got, because anything that God's got is good. And it'll bless you. We don't see it as sacrifice. We just see it as such an adventure and such a blessing that we don't look back and don't look back. Just keep going. Sometimes we reflect and we get to that valley of decisions like, okay, Lord, what do we do? How are you going to handle this one? And we do reflect, look what he's done so far. He's not going to let this go now, and just do it. You don't have to know what it's going to look like. You just know that it's going to be good.
Well, Adam, if you think about it, don't we trust the Lord with our souls? We trust him. We believe when we ask Jesus into our hearts, we're going to heaven when we leave this world, right? Yeah. Well, why can't we trust him with our everyday lives? The same way we trust him with our souls. And if he's leading you, trust him.
You guys have put that faith in God, and he's led you all this way through this amazing journey, and the journey's still going on. But what has been the fruits of your labor?
It's seeing the girls take advantage in a very beautiful way of the gifts that God's given them. It's like, I tell them, here's a gift I'm going to set in front of you. Are you going to open it or not? And when they open it and they start to know who they are in God, I'm like, I can't do it.
Yeah. This Friday, we're receiving another girl, and it'll be number 79. And 22 girls have come within 100 miles of our Missouri facilities. And that's the fruit, just to see how God has orchestrated. And it's not us, Adam, it's just God. And what we always want to do is give him the glory. He loves the girls. He loves them so much. And Yeah, that's the fruit of it.
It's incredible. You guys have an amazing story. We are officially out of time, but I want to thank you two for being here. If you're listening to this podcast, I want to thank you for tuning in. Of course, you can see other content on our YouTube channel. Also, keep the conversation going on our Instagram page. And we also upload to our Facebook. So make sure to be checking out those other resources. My name is Adam Robertson. You have been listening to Behind the Point. And until next time, God bless.